to my channel. My name is Susan and this is Skullhead. And today we are going to be preserving apples. And I've got 4 different ways that you can preserve your apples. So let's roll the intro and we'll get started. So the first option that you have is a simple one. You freeze them. So what I have here is a apple slicer, and it's a little gadget that you can use to peel your apples and then have it cored and sliced all at the same time. Now the little gadget, well, at least mine, isn't perfect, and I find it extremely frustrating. Now the peels I am setting aside because that's for another project that I have, or another way of preserving apple peels. And so I'm going to take some of my apples, and I have a combination of apples that I'm using. So it's not just one variety. I ended up buying some Macintosh and some Gala apples, so that I would have a mixture of apples that I can put in the freezer for apple pie, or anytime I wanted to use apple slices for any other of my recipes. So as you can see here, I'm just going to bag them up and then I'm going to put them in the freezer. So making your apple cider vinegar is quite easy. All you need to do is set aside your skins as you're cutting and peeling your apples to either freeze them or for whatever other use that you're doing, and you're going to put them into a jar. Once you have all your peels in the jar, you're going to add a 1/4 cup of sugar. I use cane sugar in my apple cider vinegar. And you're going to also fill it up with spring water. Now you're going to want to use spring water as opposed to tap water, or if you have a good well water or even filtered water will work as well. You don't want the chemicals that you would get from city water in your apple cider vinegar. Once you have all your ingredients in your jar, you're going to want to cover it, because if you don't cover it, you're going to get a whole lot of fruit flies in there. They are very much attracted to this. Now you don't want to fill up your jar too high, because what's going to happen is as your apples ferment and the yeast starts to feed off of the sugar, it's going to start to bubble, and if you add too much water, it's going to start to bubble over. So I have actually just filled it up as far as the neck is concerned, and then I leave it. So it gives it an opportunity to, if it does bubble, it's not going to bubble over. You're also going to want to leave the jars in an area where you're going to be able to monitor them on a regular basis. And every day what you're going to do is you're going to cover off, and you're going to poke it so that the apple peels are going to be submerged again underneath the liquid. The reason for this is because you want to make sure that you're not creating any type of mold, and so by pushing the apple sack or apple peels back down underneath the liquid, it gives it an opportunity to mix things up a bit, and then you're going to put the cover back on again. So what I have here are pH strips, and they're very helpful to have, especially anyone who is doing any type of fermenting, whether it be apple cider vinegar or kombucha. Um, they're an easy pH stick that you can just put into the liquid. You can check to make sure what the pH balance is, because vinegar does need to be a certain pH. Now, this type of vinegar that you're going to be creating is not one for any type of preserving so this is more or less for salad dressings and any type of cooking that you would use apple cider vinegar with. So to make your applesauce, what you're going to do is you're going to peel and slice your apples just like you did when you were freezing them. And make sure you set your peels aside again for making apple cider vinegar. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the meat of the apple and you're going to put it into a slow cooker. Now, I used to make applesauce on top of the stove top, and this year I decided I was going to use a slow cooker instead, and it is so much easier to do it this way. You fill up the slow cooker as much as you can with the apples, and then you add a little bit of water so it doesn't stick to the slow cooker, and you put the lid on and you put it on low and you walk away. And then when you come back and when it's ready, you can use a hand mixer, and I love my little hand mixer that I got, and puree the apple so it becomes a sauce. And it's so easy this way. Once your applesauce is ready, you can sterilize your jars and you're going to fill them. I'm never sure how many jars I need, so I have about 8 jars here that have been sterilized. The lids have been sterilized as well, and I'm just going to fill them up, and actually at the end I ended up with about 7 jars. So now that your jars are filled, the lids are on, you're going to put it into a water bath, and you're going to let that water boil for about 20 minutes. Once that happens, you're going to take your jars out, you're going to let them sit on the counter for 24 to 48 hours. And what you're going to do is you're going to listen for that popping noise that you're going to get when the lids are sealed properly. And then that's it. That's all you need to do for applesauce. So my last option for apples is dehydrating them. It's a great way to use up some apples. These apples that I'm using right now are from my apple tree, and I had picked them for something else. They were left over, and I know that I'm not going to just eat them like that, so I'm going to dehydrate them. And it's so simple. You take off the skin and you core them, you slice them, and then you put them on your dehydrator, and you dehydrate them for as long as it takes. Now, I believe I have mine set. I did turn mine down a little bit to 140, I believe. And so I'm just going to let them dehydrate. And what the great thing about dehydrated apples is that you can use them for anything, really. You can snack on them. You can use them in granola. You could use them in muffins or loaves. So it's a great way to use up some apples if you have some left over and you know they're just going to end up sitting there, as opposed to they're past the point of eating them because they're not really crunchy anymore. So it's a great way to dehydrate them. So now what I'm doing is I'm just jarring them, and then you can just label them, put them on the shelf. Now I did try to powder them. I didn't have much success with it. I mean, I did have a small jar of it because that was my test jar, but I found that it really gummed up my grinder, and it took me half an hour, I think, to clean it out from all the apples. I think it's because the apples have so much sugar in them that it kind of gums things up a little bit. So if somebody else has an idea as to how to powder dried apples, please leave a comment below, because I'd really like to know, because it would be a great opportunity to save the apples even in a smaller form. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would subscribe, like, and comment, that would be great. And until next time, have a fantastic day. Oh, and don't forget to check out some of my other videos. Bye-bye for now.